Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs.
And I have David Bolton.
And Friday night, late edition here for us. And that's because Blake Baker is leaving Mizzou to become the defensive coordinator at LSU. This was rumored for a day or two. Friday night, it became official. We're going to talk about it and what it means for Missouri going forward. But first, please, guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, sign up for notifications, leave a comment, all that jazz, and then find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Uh, well, David, initial thoughts on Blake Baker leaving for LSU?
It sucks.
Yeah.
Especially 2 weeks after
Succinct.
he's, huh?
Succinct.
Yeah. Especially 2 weeks after he came out and said he didn't want to leave. His family was enjoying Columbia, blah, 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 all that stuff. However, I will say this. He was a linebackers coach at LSU before he came to Mizzou, so he already has ties there. He played in Tulane as a player, and his wife was a soccer star, I believe, for LSU. So the
Yeah.
family has all kinds of ties. He has all kinds of relatives, not only in Louisiana, but Houston area in Texas. Um, so I totally get why he would make the move. Um, if reports are to be believed, he was with this new contract going to be making close to $2 million. I think it was 1.9. With a buyout of 950,000. Um, so this decision was not because of the money. Um,
Yeah. So, background for those who may not be tracking. Uh, Blake Baker signed they announced a contract extension, I guess I should say, on December 21st. The terms were never really publicly released, but today, as all this was unfolding, it was kind of learned, and I saw Power Mizzou and Pete Thamel reporting it's a 3-year deal for Baker going into 2024, at least what it was going to be. 2024, 5 and 6. 1.9, 2 million, 2.1. So 2 million a year essentially. That was going to have him top 5 highest paid assistant coaches in all college football. The LSU gig he's taking, 2.2 million is the rumored number. That makes him the highest paid assistant in college football. Maybe there's an ego, point of pride of being the highest paid assistant. I don't know. Uh, it's one of those where I think the sting factor for Missouri is a little bit bigger because the contract extension. And then he tweeted out, the clip of from Wolf of Wall Street of "I'm not adjective leaving." Uh, yeah, you know the part of the movie I'm talking about, and it seemed emphatic and like a done deal. The LSU opening, this was not officially an open position until after that contract extension. So yeah, maybe there was back channeling and he knew this was going to open up. I don't know. We will never know that, I don't think. But yeah,
well,
go ahead.
I think in the long run, he's going to be a head coach somewhere. I think one way he might be looking at this with is he just rebuilt Mizzou's defense, which was not good before he got here, and he built it up. Well, LSU's defense, not good. If he can turn, and this just could be his mindset, if he could turn that around, I think that might be his last step before he takes a head coaching job somewhere. And he might use that as a stepping stone to get a position where he really wants. At the same time, happy wife, happy life could be the other factor there.
So two things that my reaction to that. One, happy wife, happy life. There's something to that, but if he wants to be a head coach, he ain't gonna be there long, right?
Right.
So maybe the 1 year is worth it. We're assuming 1 year. We'll see. And I think another thing, you look at the personalities of guys in football. Let's be honest. In some form or fashion, almost everybody is an alpha male. There's that certain bit of ego. I don't say that as a bad thing. That's just, I think you have to have that to be effective in major football these days. And with Baker, I think there's probably that self-confidence that, oh, I can turn them around. Yeah, I can do that. And he should have that confidence. Now, what goes along with that is the thinking. I turned Missouri's defense around. It's getting me this much attention. LSU, bigger name, bigger brand, bigger fan base, more attention, more money, all that sort of thing. If I turn their defense around after I did it at Missouri, that just opens up better head coaching gigs. Right or wrong, it probably is the truth. And that could be part of the thinking is, yeah, I might be able to coach at, maybe I was looked at for Tulane, but if I do this right at LSU, maybe all of a sudden I'm able to coach at say an SMU who's going to be in the ACC, or gosh, some Big 12 school straight to like Texas Tech or even bigger. That's something that could be part of the calculus in his thinking. Uh, there's a lot of people talking about what's a lateral move. Yes, it is an SEC defensive coordinator spot to another SEC defensive coordinator spot. So in that sense, yes, it is lateral. But David, come on. Let's go beneath the surface. In your mind, do you see this as a lateral move?
Not really.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we're
it
in
comes
agreement
down
on
to
this.
and you can take a look at the game we just played against Ohio State. Would you rather coach from Mizzou or Ohio State? I mean, it just name brand recognition, everything else. If you do well at LSU, you're going to have even more people looking at you just because of where you were, not because of how you did, but where you were.
There's a money factor and there's a prestige factor where Missouri, at least for another 15, 20 years, just can't compete. There's a lot of Missouri fans that are going to think we're full of crap for saying that. And you can think it, but that's just the reality. Missouri just finished a good season, but it was one good season. All right. Texas Tech had a fantastic 2008. Where have they been since? I think
No,
Missouri has to prove that they're more than that. All right. They had a fantastic 2013, 2014 in the SEC. Then what happened? It's incumbent upon Missouri to have sustained success. And then stuff like this is going to be a lot harder to happen.
well, and also at the same time, though, this is not necessarily a bad thing for Mizzou too, because if these coordinators get promoted out, even if they go to LSU and then future down the road they're a head coach somewhere, uh, they were still under Drink and still
Yeah.
had success under Drink, and other coaches are going to want to come through Drink's system because they know they'll have an opportunity other places. It's that whole coaching tree, kind of like Saban has at Bama, and you hear about other coaches like Pinkel. With I'm dropping, I'm forgetting the name of his mentor over at Washington.
Don James.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, but like you hear about all those coaching trees. I think if Drink starts having success here consistently, you could start seeing a coaching tree form where all these guys are going to want to clamor and come to Mizzou to coach, knowing that they can use this as a stepping stone to go other places. So while this move sucks, I don't think it's the worst thing for Mizzou. And at the same time, you got to look at what's next. What are they going to do next? How are they going to maintain what we have on our roster, keep people from transferring, things like that. I know early signing period, we had every commit sign, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The question is the portal guys, are they going to stick around? Have they already transferred in, or are they going to think twice and then maybe take a step back and look elsewhere? So Mizzou's going to have to do some quick thinking here. Either to promote someone from within to maintain, or hire someone else, prestige, to keep things rolling.
And see, that's the big question now. Internally, DJ Smith is a candidate, co-defensive coordinator, and also Kevin Peoples, a veteran who is very highly thought of. You have to also consider the fact that you have to get a safeties coach. Blake Baker was the safeties coach as well. So you have to have that position accounted for. On the outside, if you're looking at an external hire, I, you know, there's a couple ways to look at it. And the way I think is you have to know, and of course, internally within the Mizzou AD, this is known. The $2 million a year, essentially, that Blake Baker was going to get, is that money that was coming from a mega donor who was saying, yeah, I'll pay that for Baker, but not for just any defensive coordinator? Or is that just what kind of money Mizzou has, where they can just go get somebody? Because if that money is available for the next defensive coordinator, money essentially becomes no object. Mizzou had just made Blake Baker a top 5 paid assistant in all of college football. All right. So budget constraints, not a thing, potentially. And that's new territory for Missouri.
Well, and I do want to throw one other thing out that I know a lot of people are mad about this and everything. Mizzou wasn't a top 25 defense. They seemed like it. They're top 4 or 5 in the SEC, but I think they were like 33rd in the country, something like that. They weren't actually a top 25 defense. So there's still plenty of room to improve. If you get a good coach, they can take Mizzou even higher than where they were under Baker. Um, so it's just something to think about there, is while he really improved the defense, there's still plenty of room to improve with what you have.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Baker was worried about next year's defense with Missouri because of all the guys leaving for the NFL. Chris Abrams-Drain is gone. Ennis Rakestraw is gone. Tyron Hopper presumed to be gone. You've
Most likely
got,
now.
huh?
I most likely think he'll be gone after this announcement.
Oh, yeah. And then
Then you got
multiple defensive linemen.
Darius Robinson, who's graduating, who's also
Yeah.
going to be going to the NFL.
Yeah. Believe I saw Jaden Jernigan, Realist George. There are some big shoes to fill for Missouri on defense. Now they've made some moves in the portal. Chris McClellan is, coming from Florida, for example. There, Toriano Pride from Clemson, but they're not proven. They're not proven commodities with Missouri. So with them leaving, maybe he doesn't have faith in what Missouri has left, and maybe he thinks his personal stock maybe will go down a little bit with LSU, but not that much, because everyone knows that LSU's defense is terrible, as opposed to Missouri's defense falling back down to earth because they lost a bunch of dudes. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And that could have played in the factor of his move 100%. Which is why you bring back your ego of, hey, I did it over here. They're losing a bunch of people. Why don't I go to LSU and rebuild there? And if I can even turn it around halfway, if you will, because even if he improves by like 10 spots with that defense, that's much improved over there. And they have all the talent over there with the players, so he could easily turn it around with his system. Uh, he'll find himself a head coaching job even within the year, in all honesty.
Yeah, and
Because
I think it's one where there's going to be fans who think, well, they're losing Jaden Daniels. They're not going to score 40 points a game. He's going to have to do a whole lot better than this year's defense would have had to have done. I don't know how much the LSU offense is going to drop off. Yes, they're losing the Heisman Trophy winner, But if you watch the bowl game, they've got a young quarterback. Um, I forget his name. Uh, but he maybe isn't going to rush for as much as Jaden Daniels, but he can sling it. I think their offense is going to be fine. They need solid, and they're going to be a legit contender, I think. So, yeah, it's one of those where any sort of progress away from being terrible makes him look great at a high profile program.
Yeah, and with the interest he was supposedly garnering already as a head coach, any turnaround at all over there, and I think he for sure will have a job of his pick pretty much uh,
Yeah. And
going
the
on.
fact that he was fielding head coaching, at least interest, and then took this DC job tells me that LSU was like on a special list, perhaps because of the family connections that we mentioned earlier. I think that's a bit of a special situation. And I think it needs to be said, Eli Drinkwitz kind of alluded to a situation like this as a caveat to his kind of famous statement where he said he didn't want his assistants making lateral moves. I think this is one where Drinkwitz gets it because there are those family ties, though the history, playing in the state, wife from there, playing soccer there, all of that, I think makes it still frustrating, but at least a little bit easier to understand at the same time. So that's my guess as to where Drinkwitz is at, but you can bet that he's going to be using this as fuel for the defense 2024. Get them going. That Baker didn't think you were good enough. He abandoned you because he thinks you're terrible. You got to prove him wrong. That sort of thing. I
Yeah,
got every. I have full confidence that'll happen.
just on how he used STP this year,
Oh
something to
yeah.
prove. So
Yep.
100%. On that note, Eric, why don't we go ahead and end this right here? In the meantime, as things develop with our defensive coordinator position now, we'll keep you guys updated. Not only that, and if other defensive players decide to enter the portal or not, who knows? Um, it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on until we get that defensive coordinator position shored up. But we'll keep you up to date on all things Mizzou, so stay tuned. It's going to be a wild couple of weeks, I think, on that department. Thank you for watching.